Okay, guys. All good things must come to an end. And this is the final week of Justice League books. And we started off with Justice League Zero. This was a free comic book day book that they did to uh, debut the new Justice League book. And this was a great book. This was on the following up on the heels of uh, Identity Crisis. So they had Brad Metzer doing the story, and this is basically a book where they're pretty much going through the history of the Justice League of America, and it's Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, and they're discussing like the history of the League, what it means to be a member of the League, and at the very end of it, it is a down shot of a table with a bunch of photographs, and they're basically saying, okay, who are we going to pick to be in the next league? And it was a really cool book. It was a book for free comic book day, and so a bunch of artists contributed. A lot of them, like most artists, only did like a page per book for the book. And at the very end, they decide, okay, who's going to be part of the new league, and it's got all the photographs of all the different characters. Some that will be in the book, some that won't. And it's all like all past members with some hints towards new members, brand new to being a part of the Justice League. So I like this a lot. So having the opportunity for Ethan Van Sciver, uh, uh, Dexter Vines, Kevin McGuire, and of course Tony Harris to sign it, had to get those signatures. So I really like the book and how it's got a bit of a signature jam going on it. So I hope over time to get more artists. So it all depends. So, but this is one of those books where I already got a lot of signatures on it, but I wouldn't mind getting a whole bunch more. So, and then we follow that up with issue that was day 131. Day 132 was Justice League of America number 25, signed by Joe Prado and by Shane Davis. Now, Shane Davis, he did some fill-in issues for this series, and this is one of the issues where he did fill-ins for it. And they've actually had a bunch of artists do do pages for this issue. Um, Ed Bennis was the regular penciler, with Sandra Hope doing the inks, and of course with deadlines, Shane did some fill-in issues. And I'll tell you something. This is one of those examples. Shane's natural style is slightly similar to Ed Bennis. So he was actually a good pick to have as the guest artist every once in a while, because his style, there was a when you see Ed Bennis and then you see Shane's style, there was a gestalt to it, meaning that their styles were similar enough that it wasn't jarring. So if you got used to how Ed was doing the pages, and then Shane comes in and he's doing doing an issue, uh, it, it 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 blends seamlessly for the reader, that they feel like it's the same artist, even though it's two different artists. It has a slight feel to it, which is always a good thing to have. It's one of the things where it always bothered me when you have fill-in artists and the fill-in artists, their art style would be a polar opposite to the regular penciler. And this is where having a house style and artists all like, this is the house style, you got to draw in this style. This is where it's beneficial, because that way you can have an artist bouncing from book to book to book, and it feels still has the same feel from book to book, regardless of whether, say, it's Shane and he then goes and does an issue of Hawkman, and he then does an issue uh, of Green Lantern. If the other artists on those books are similar to Shane's, Shane blends in smoothly with it. It's the reason why, like in the days of like the 70s and 80s, you could buy like 8 books at once, and a DC book felt like a DC book, even though you had different artists doing each book because they had a house style. So just as an Image, when Rob Liefeld started Extreme Studios, all of his artists had the same look and feel as him. So that way, even though they weren't as good as him, you still had the same feel of a Rob Liefeld's book because all of his artists were mimicking his style, which I feel is very important, and it's something that the industry's lost and needs to get back to. That falls on the hands of the editors. It's up to the editors that, regardless of who the penciler is, to tell the penciler and tell the inker, okay, this is the Jim Lee. If it's DC, Jim Lee's our guy. He sells the most books. I want you to mimic Jim Lee's style, because that way we'll get the casual reader that wouldn't buy this book, but they like Jim Lee. We want that reader to pick up this book because the artwork has a feeling like Jim Lee. So that's what you got to do, and that's what they're not doing. Just as like Mark Bagley's not doing books anymore, he just does covers now. When he was doing books for Marvel, they should have been telling every single artist coming in, okay, Mark Bagley and John Romita Jr., they're our guys. We need you to be drawing your books just like those guys do their books. We want them to have the same look and feel. And it's not about stepping in someone's artistic style. It's this is our house style. This is the style. Again, I always am saying this. I'm always saying this. Why is manga doing so well? Because manga, it doesn't matter where it's a book in the. You go into a Barnes and Noble and pick up a book in the A's, a book in the M's, and a book in the T's. Each book, when you pick it up and you flip through, even though it's not the same artist and doesn't look exactly the same, it has the same feel, and that's where you're successful. And why do you think kids are so hot for manga right now? Because all the books have the same look and feel. If you want to get an audience back, okay, which book is doing the best? Okay, all of your artists. It doesn't matter, Vaughn. It doesn't matter that you're a stippler. You need to be doing this and this. You need to be doing this work in the style of Jim Lee. So that's how I feel about it. And that's so. And then after that, we go to day 133, Justice League Generation Lost, issue number 18, signed by Aaron Lopresti. This was a really fun series. It took place after Brightest Day, and here Maxwell Lord is back from the dead, and he is a villain. And what does he do? He uses his mind control powers to make the whole world forget he exists, and it works for everybody, even like Superman and Batman. But it doesn't work on the JLA, or remember Justice League Incorporated, with Booster Gold, Fire, Ice, Red Rocket. Primarily because they're in the center, the epicenter when it happens. Two, it's because they were the ones that knew Max the most, so it doesn't really. They're slightly immune to him because they have such strong memories and strong interaction with him that can't be, their memories can't be replaced. So they're now on their own, trying to convince the world that Maxwell Lord is alive, and everybody's going like, "Who's this Maxwell Lord person? Well, he's the one who's causing all these problems." No, it's not Maxwell Lord. It's this it's this villain, the Blue Bomber. No, it is Maxwell Lord. So they are on a mission, and they've got everybody against them. And of course, at the very end and the very last issue, uh, they force him to like use his powers to make the whole world remember who he is again. And of course, that was the end just before they did the reboot, of course. But still, Aaron Lopresti did a number of issues on this series, so having the opportunity to have him sign issue 18 was great. There's a couple other issues of Generation Lost that if I had the opportunity to see Aaron, I would definitely have him sign a couple issues of that. And then, of course, after that, we have Day 134, JLA Incarnations. Now, this was a fun series because John Ostrander did, and he basically did a each issue was a moment in time when the of the JLA, and so you have it throughout the different eras, which was fun. And this one's the one I picked to have you guys sign. Yes, I had it signed. I had you guys. I picked this one because it has a lot of signatures on the book. Why does it have a lot of signatures on the book? Because it is the incarnation from Justice League Detroit with my guy Vibe. It also had from the Flash during the Crisis on Infinite Earth story. So I had to get this one signed. It has Val Zemeckis. He did the pencils, and then you have Prentice Rollins, who did the inks on one of the stories, Keith Champagne, who did the inks for another story, and then, of course, Kevin Conrad did the inks for another story. There's like 3 stories in this issue. And if you go back and look at this book, which was day 134, you will see that Kevin Conrad has such a cool signature. There's certain artists just have just a really cool signature, like Barry Keatson, Walt Simonson, um, Barry Keatson, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, and Kevin Conrad. I would honestly say Kevin Conrad has got to have one of the best signatures in the industry right now. There's some artists and writers that we can argue, and it comes down to personal taste. But like some of the artists, they're just scribbles. Like Mark Waid. Okay, and this is not anything against Mark Waid and his personal preference. Okay, it's not what this type of stream is. But looking at his signature, it's just like, yeah, and it doesn't sing to me the way Barry Keatson sings to me, the way Walt Simonson's signature sings to me. Even Shane Davis has a really cool the way he and if you see Shane at a show and have him sign your book, he is not. He's very slow and very specific in how he does it. And even though it looks like it's a quick scribble, he is very slow to do his signature. And it's really nice to see that signature when you see it. So, but so no, having Ken Conrad, I always like seeing him at shows to get him sign a book or two, just because he's got such a cool signature. So, which yeah, that's one of the reasons why I have him sign books. When I see him, I was like, oh, I gotta get a signature from him because he's got a cool signature. And so having that cool signature on the book, it just I like it. So, but okay, guys. So we've got day 134, and now we go into the final book of the Justice League. Final Justice League book. Justice League Rebirth #1. Signed by the writer Joe Orlando and signed by Joe Prado. Now, when you look at this one on Twitter, and that's what all these books I'm talking about, I posted the image of the book on Twitter under Stippling Vaughn. And when you look at this book, okay, I remember this book when Joe Prado showed the inks on Facebook. And I remember being, oh wow, this is such a cool, the way he's doing the opening shot, and he's got and he's got doing all the storm clouds and everything, and he put in such meticulous lines, and it just was so nice. And then I get the book and the colorist just completely erased it and put in their computer effects. And again, this is where it's like one of those where it's like, colorist, stay in your fucking lane. Know your fucking role. Put the fries in the bag. Your job is to make the artist and inker look better, not to show, look what I can do with the push of a button on a computer. No. And that's the reason why I posted that, and that's the reason why I posted that image of not just the cover, but that first page in when I did the posting, was to show how you can have great artists and their works getting screwed up by a goddamn colorist. So, and it wasn't the usual colorist of Rod Reese, like who done a lot of work for Ivan and Joe. It was someone else completely, so anyway, we're gonna moving right along. Yeah, and that's the last issue of Justice League that we're showing for the Jays for 365 days of side comics. So we go into day 136, and we have Justice number 29 from the New Universe line by Marvel, signed by Lee Weeks. This was Lee Weeks. I would say, he didn't start the series, but when it comes to new talent, he did the most issues. He did like issue like I think it was like 16 or 17 through the end of the series, which was issue 32. He did every single issue. And whereas a lot of other artists who were getting their start might have done 2 or 3 issues, he did the most. Um, and he did a great job. And in this issue, it was a crossover with Cyforce. Cyforce was one of my favorite books in the New Universe line. The way it went was you had DP7 was for my favorite, followed by Cyforce, then by uh, Starbrand, followed lastly behind by Justice. I liked the artwork, just wasn't overall crazy about the story of Justice. Um, it obviously this, but the thing is though, is that it was a good enough book because when they started canceling all the New Universe books, this is one of the ones they didn't, and this is one where it's a crossover with Cyforce, and and this was again, this issue was like a big fight issue. Every single panel there was conflict and just fighting, and Lee Weeks had to really he was really paying his dues, showing how he can do a book with multiple characters, which that had to be a challenge for him. But he overcame that challenge with very high results. So, and that was day 136. So we wrapped up the week with today 137, Justice number 18. Yes, I know 18 and 29 are not in order in posting, but I wanted you to, this is one where this was the issue 18, coincided with the Pit event. The Pit event is where the Star Brand used his powers above Pittsburgh and blew up Pittsburgh. And I know the story how Jim Shooter had just been fired from Marvel, and John Byrne, how like apparently a lot of creators didn't like Jim Shooter because he was so strict with the timetable of books and everything. But hey, it's a business, and how he was like to get him back and being petty. He said, "I'm gonna blow up his hometown of Pittsburgh." And I'll be honest with you guys, regardless of whether that was petty or not, it was a great thing to do in the New Universe line because it completely changed. You know how like you have like Marvel and DC, how they have these big events, but yet by the end, but it's one of those where it's like, but they never like blow up the Eiffel Tower, or if they do, by the end of the issue, the Eiffel Tower's been rebuilt again. No, this was everything changed when they blew up Pittsburgh. Everything changed, and they made it clear this is not a copycat of Marvel of the Marvel universe. Uh, One of the things on top of it was the backup story was the big bad guy Philip Vost, uh, and the backup story he goes, oh no, it was the backup story for issue 29. In the backup issue of issue 29, Philip Vost, who is the main bad guy to DP7, he's using his powers to to basically mentally manipulate the United States public into voting for him to be president. Which again, this was like, whoa, we've got a character. I mean, this was decades before they made Lex Luthor the president of the DC universe. They made it was clear. This is not your same old comic book company where we're going to have the president of the United States be the same person as the one who's actually in office. They had he actually they had it where he ran for president against Bill Clinton and George Bush, and he won, and he became president. Which again, I really liked that, and made it clear that this is not your same old. Uh, This is not your same old book. So, but yeah. So Justice number 18 was a signed by Lee. It was a Pitt tie-in. He's drawn to Pittsburgh, and he's has to save a baby from the blast, and you realize how it's like, yeah, this is a real thing. And the very final shot, I believe, is he's actually where the cover shows him standing on the edge of the blast zone. Here, he actually they have him like I think it's like the final issues, a 2-page spread showing the devastation and how Pittsburgh is this big gaping hole now in the earth. So I liked it. So okay, so we've got that. We got Justice League completely finished of signed books. If I wanted to do J's for the next 5 months, I could, but I won't. So we're moving on. Tomorrow we'll do independent J's from small press, and then we'll be moving on to the K's for next week. So, and I've got some good ones. So, guys, you all have a great day. I'm having a great day. And remember, life is stressful. Take it all one dot at a time.